So, the Mind of Traxman, can we start there? It's the third volume of your Essential series, and it's out in February. The compilation of records were made over 2 decades, and you had some help from Sinjin Hawk to help you narrow the track list down. Can you walk us through the process of solidifying your track list? Because I imagine you're pretty prolific, so you're probably going through a lot of tracks. So was there anything in particular you were looking for?
Not really, because there was over 150 tracks, or probably more. Certain things that needed to be used and certain things that, hey, this is okay, this is all right, that's cool, that's okay, that's cool. And it basically took us from, from September of 2023 till all the way up till last year on Compilate Out. So it damn near took a year. It was really interesting picking the music because we were listening like, will this work? Will that work? I think this is good. I don't think that's good. This is a strong lead. This can be used, blah, 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 for something else. But yeah, I think it was good timing on compilating the album and finding the right songs for it.
And it's your first record in the series in a while. So why did you decide to put it out now?
I think it was time for that. Of course, the last release of the Mind of Traxman was 10 years ago, and so much has happened from 2014 up to now. So I think it was time for that.
Was there anything that surprised you when you were looking at all these records? Some of them dated back to 2005. So a lot of those tracks didn't go back to 2005. I'm not putting those tracks out. No, that's what the press release said. Sorry.
No, they twisted it up. They twisted it up.
Okay.
No, but what it is, it was a gang of tracks from the time 2016. Now, the 2005 track is Kill the DJ.
Okay.
That's the old one. That's what they're talking about. That one, because I originally did that track in 2002 with a good buddy of mine, Bobby Skills, because it was something that was going on at that time with certain DJs, and I would just have a saying blah blah blah, and Bobby Skills would come in and he kind of gave it something, gave it that the other words and stuff. So I really tweaked when I actually did a remake of it, the same track, original vocals and all, and they said they want that track. I'm like, you guys want this track? Okay. So that's that's the whole thing of 2005, 2000 and what those times, because of stuff like that.
Why are you surprised that they wanted that track?
Because that's some hood stuff. You know what I'm saying? And and a lot of DJs used to get kind of panicky back in the day. Still to this day, I still play that track, like Kill the DJ, you know what I'm saying? But it's very intense, you know what I'm saying? So I wish I could find those old parties from then, because the whole club used to sing it. But yeah, it's just one of those cool, weird chant tracks, hood chant tracks.
Were there any other older tracks that surprised you that they wanted?
Probably 2. But for the most, the rest of them were tracks that I've been working on from 2017, 2016, and all that time. Even if it does, some do date back as far as 15 and 14, right after the Mind of Traxman 2. So there were plenty. I can't. It's scary to me because every other day I'm just making tracks and just do them, and before I know it's 100. Then it's 500, and then there's 1,000, literally.
What was it like having someone like Sinjin Hawk coming in and helping you go through that library?
Different, because I'd really never had anybody that would come in and help me A&R a record. Better yet, they're not even A&Rs anymore. With putting out records, to help, of course, the A&R is going to help you, blah, 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 blah. I think this is good, this is good, this is good. I don't think this is good.
I actually wanted to move back in time a little. We don't really know that much about your childhood, so I want to hear about that. I want to hear what it was like growing up on the west side of Chicago and what your musical environment was like.
Okay. Started in 1981. I was 8 and 9 years old with a crew called the Fantastic Five. I learned to them. But before then, as a child, my mother named me after Don Cornelius. I'm named after Soul Train.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's
Cornelius
very cool.
is my real name.
Yeah.
My mother played a lot of music. She was, and I guess at that time, the end of the 60s, coming into the 70s, just so much music. My father was into a lot of Delphonics, Temptations, The Impressions, Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions and stuff like that. Now, my stepfather, both of my brother's dad, I love him to death. He used to play a lot of Bob Marley, Led Zeppelin, Peter Tosh, Stones. And as a kid, watching Soul Train, listen to what my mother was playing, listen to what my father played, and listen to what my stepfather was playing. They kind of did it. And I knew I was going, but my mother's younger brother, my Uncle James, he was only a couple years older. He's my mom's baby brother. He was the music man. He was the one that, he took care of us. He's not here with us no more. I really miss him. He opened up my ears to funk music, Slave, Mass Construction, Sun, all the groups out of Ohio Players, Parliament, Funkadelic, P-Funk, James Brown, all of that stuff. Anything that's considered funk, he was there. So my cousin, I'm just trying to run it down as good as I can. My cousin, oh man, it's crazy because he just passed last year. Me and him, we're the same age. That killed me. So he introduced me to hip hop. He was the one coming with the great adventures of Grandmaster Flash Cut and all that. But my mother did buy Rapper's Delight back in '79, and I know that whole record from back in my head. But my cousin kind of took it a step further with the Cold Crush Brothers cassettes and stuff that he was getting from his friends. So yeah.
Word. And where does electronic music come into the picture? Because when you were a kid, house music was becoming a thing, but it wasn't even called house music.
It wasn't even house music yet.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. Yeah. I've been playing before that, even the genre had a name, but the culture was already going on. The culture was already there. Electronic music, like the Italo import stuff, we call Italo imports. And that's kind of weird to be 9 and 10 years old and you know about all these weird sounding electronic records coming from other countries. We're kids. And 81, 82, that's the Thriller. Thriller is just coming out. This is 82. And we would get records like Bobby O, LGBT Divine. And people didn't know that. A lot of records coming out of Italy, a lot of records coming out of UK that we were literally mixing, but we caught those records because of WBMX and the Hot Mix 5. Kenny Jam and Jason, Scott Smoking Seals, Mickey Mixon Oliver, Farley Jackmaster Funk. Ralphie wasn't there yet. Ralphie didn't come until later. But those guys, 1390, Herb Kent, the Punk Out Hour. And I had to been like 7 and 8 years old hearing these electronic records. What really blew me over with that was Kraftwerk. Kraftwerk did it for me. That opened, I don't know, still to this day. My uncle had those records, but one day he came home with a 45 of numbers, a greenish, goldish, with electronic writing on it, on Warner Brothers. I'm like, One, that grabbed me. Two, the sounds like, this is futuristic. And then somehow I end up getting money and I bought the whole album, Computer World. And that record kind of just, this is the future. I'm where this sound is going, I'm following. And right then and there, you get that Italo stuff, you get Los Niños de Arregos, Portuguese, and stuff like that. And we were playing that stuff in the neighborhood now. Think about that. I'm a black kid out the hood where it's gangbanging, and they like these records. So electronic music plays a big role with me coming. So, and especially with my uncle, because my uncle loved it. So yeah.
There were some times when genres break through and people take a while to warm up to it. And I was wondering if you had the same experience where you thought it was maybe a little bit strange and you're like, I don't know if I like this. But it seems like you kind of immediately connected with it.
Anything that was electronic-y and anything that was not what we was listening to on the radio, we was going with that. So basically, if it wasn't some electronic keyboard twisted in and out, with weird little sounds, nuances and stuff like that, that was the ear catcher for young kids, because in house music, and those guys, even before it became the genre of it, like I said, the culture was going on already. Now, just keep in mind, I'm 9 and 10. I'm way too young to even know about a warehouse. When I was 9 years old, when a warehouse closed down, the original, this is 1981 or 82, I'm a little kid. We've heard about those places, but it wasn't no big concern because we were hearing the records on the radio. So it didn't matter.
I want to talk about that.
Okay.
So you started DJing at 8, which is a time when a lot of kids don't know what a DJ is. So can you talk about your appeal to the craft? What was exciting to you about DJing as such a young kid?
It was mad different. Number one, I love records. I am a record collector lover. 2, it was the DJing thing was so cool. Not like how it is now. You got up trillion DJs with everything, but then you felt special if you were able to blend 2 records together. 4-bar, 8-bar counts and stuff like that. Nobody wasn't able to do that. And as a kid doing it, that was amazing to a lot of people, that this dude can really, he can blend, he knows his breaks. And that's because I was listening to the radio. So yeah.
Do you remember the first 2 tracks you mixed together successfully?
Oh. Weeks and Company, Rock the World, Numbers, Kraftwerk.
So obviously you were a kid, but when you were DJing, was it something that you started off in your bedroom and then eventually graduated to like house parties? How did that develop?
I had buddies that were starting out too. And one guy may have like one turntable, another guy may have a mixer, and the other guy's got a beat up turntable and the wheel. Okay, we're gonna bring the stuff to your house and we're kids. It's just like, building a go-kart. But we were doing it with music. But one thing they didn't have, I had all the records. I had everybody would look at my records and they thought I got them from my older guy. Like, no, these are my records. I bought these because when I was hearing things. So me and my little crew, we're playing music. We wasn't even thinking about, nobody's thinking about being a superstar DJ. This is just something that we love to do, and we love this music. Yeah.
But I actually wanted to talk about your first 12-inch West Side Boogie tracks. It actually isn't available online to my knowledge. I tried looking for it, but I did hear one track on that record, Jack the Box, which I think shows Chicago minimalism very clearly. It doesn't even really have any words.
No, it doesn't.
Do you remember making that record?
Making that record?
Yeah.
I recorded West Side Boogie 1996. You know, Work Me. That's the best track on that EP. I love that track. I borrowed the thumb lines from my best friend Slick Rick the Master. He's still our album's coming out too. But I borrowed that bass line because he would do certain little things. And I would do because everybody was doing do or do, but we would just go work me, which is work me, goddamn it, it's just work me, which I got that from Paul. Rest in peace to Paul.
So, how did you decide that you wanted to start producing? Because you were a DJ first and for a long time.
Production, naturally. Of course, that was something I always wanted to do. I didn't catch the bug real hard till the end of 86, 87-ish. I've Lost Control. Sleazy D, produced by Marshall Jefferson, the God. And Adonis's No Way Back. But also, going back to 84, Jesse Saunders and Vince Lawrence's On and On tracks. I have to say, without Jesse and Vince, they were the one who showed us you can actually make your own record. The next year, 85, that's the year. Funkin' with the Drums, Farley Jackmaster Funk, Funky Keith did. Virgo Go Wild tracks. Jack tracks by Chippy. This is what our names come from. All our names come from that stuff. It's House was the first record we ever heard that said house. Now, they were doing that. The genre was being birthed at that time. But the culture was there already. Like I said, they had Sawyer's and Warehouse and the Music Box, the late great Ron Hardy. When It's House and those records came out in 85, that right there, like, all right, this is something different.
I actually wanted to talk about we're on the west side of Chicago. I wanted to talk about the difference between west side Chicago house tracks, particularly Ghetto House. Let's get into that. And south side Chicago Ghetto House tracks. Like, how were those different? What were you guys noticing at the time that the south side was doing differently?
It's safe to say that south side hit the lead already because all the pioneers were coming from the south side. But we recently started to learn that a lot of those pioneers are coming from the west side too. But majority of the south side with producers like Marshall Jefferson. But Marshall's like a snake charmer. Man. He's like, oh, shout out to him. I love Marshall. Steve So Curly, Vince Lawrence, Farley Jackmaster Funk is my hero, but Steve So Curly, the way he did his production, Marshall Jefferson, we followed them. But the Ghetto House sound, there was a thing called house versus beat that people, which was all the same stuff. But if you were a house, you were from the south side. If you like beat tracks, you were from the west side. All Chicago, because the Ghetto House sound is from those early tracks I said, coming up to Tyree Cooper, K. Alexi, Lil Lewis. Lil Lewis is from around my way. My man, Armando, Steve Poindexter, Mike Dunn. Mike Dunn was like, and I just seen Mike this Saturday. Mike Dunn. Those were the people who kind of helped navigate that. But can't forget about jamming the House of Churro, Houseman, Soundmaster T, which he's really a hip-hop rap producer, but he came up in house music. You ever heard the record, Dance, Too Much Booty in the Pants? That's him. And Booty, 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 Booty Rockin', they got that from a house record.
But there was also, like, this raunchy element of South Side ghetto house.
Oh man, I would have to definitely give that to the Godfather, Deeon. Deeon and Milton. What those guys were doing wasn't so far off from what we were doing, but they were getting grimier with the words because we didn't think about saying those big booty. The more and more we heard it, the more and more we got pulled in. Like, this is interesting.
Did you go to those parties?
Nope. Because I'm an op from the West Side, and we were considered as hooks. Because they were gangster disciples. We were vice lords from the West Side of Chicago, so it's totally different. Deeon is so important, was so important, so instrumental in that minimum sound. And just kicks and 707 to 909 and his vocals. But can't forget about Milton, because Milton was the part. Milton just came home too. Shout out to DJ Milton. DJ Carlos. There was a guy named DJ Carlos with them too. Shout out to my man Carlos. But back down on 29th Street, they were from 35th and State. But back down towards 29th, we had DJ Monty, DJ Limo, DJ PJ coming out of there. Sluggo. I didn't hear about Sluggo to actually 3 years later. And it's crazy. I just got off the phone with him on my way here. Shout out to Sluggo. And all those guys from the low end, they had a whole different sound the way they did it. Now, the phrasing of Ghetto House didn't come from them. They came from us. They came from funk. For me, the Mount Rushmores of Ghetto House, number one's Deeon, Jam and Gerald, Funk, Waxmaster from Rockwell, Milton, and of course there's another 10 with the Paul Johnson by default, but Paul would make those grungy type of tracks when he felt like he just made dope music.
So of course we have to talk about Dance Mania, but before that, I want to talk about Barney's, which is
Dance Mania.
Essentially.
Yeah.
It was the home base for Dance Mania,
yes,
and
ma'am.
You worked there.
Yes.
What was your role there?
My role at Dance Mania, I was the distribution man. I worked upstairs I dealt with the vinyl. My job was to help push out all the vinyl and deal with the make calls, Damon Surplus in Detroit. I'm talking to people in Europe. That's the first time I got the connection with Europe. I didn't know. I knew and I didn't know. Working with the Barney family, of course, they're a life family. Mr. Willie Barney, the father of Ray Barney, his brothers, a lot of them ain't here with us no more. They was funny as hell. Upstairs, now downstairs was the main record shop his brother Bugs was working at. God rest the dead, Bugs. True fact, 94, 95, China Rush was working there. She was a little girl. Working at Barney's was a dope experience because, of course, working there, I'm getting the chance to meet all the artists that's coming in the door. I didn't know who they were a lot of times. And you're buying their records and you don't even know, or you're playing this stuff and of course, working, I'm getting everything free 99, all the tests and promos. Paul Johnson, I miss Paul. Paul was so ultimate. And of course, he couldn't come upstairs because he was in a wheelchair. He had to go downstairs when he would come, I guess, pick up payments from Ray Barney's. And we just so cool. So cool. Just that was my connection with the South. I started to get the connection with the South Side. Do Dance Mania really hard. Barney's working upstairs in the distribution room at Dance Mania was funny. We used to have so many, and still to this day, show, like if I see Ray Barney. But I want to say thanks to Ray Barney. And this year marks the 40th anniversary of Dance Mania. It's the 40th anniversary.
Congrats.
But I thank him. The record labels in Chicago at that time, even before then, Trax Records and DJ International, but they were white. They had the means of putting the music out, but what made Ray Barney's thing? He was the only black man. Barney's was the top distribution in the country. All record labels brought him the stuff to distribute because they were just so good at it. And Dwayne asked Ray, You ever thought about doing a record label? What name are you using? Use the name we used. It's named Dance Mania. Dance Mania was still the low totem pole label at that time because Trax and DJ International was so successful with those records coming out. Now, going into the 90s, Trax was, and DJs like this, and they were just, it's like, and Dance Mania went, along with Relief and Casual Records and Underground Construction.
What do you think caused that rise?
The shift of the culture. You gotta remember, house music in the 80s was the blueprint. And I argue with the older guys. They want to have the blueprint and the golden era. You can't have them both. The blueprint was no way back. We're rocking down the house. Jack your body, move your body. By the time the 90s came, you get French Kiss. You get Amani tracks. The music is aggressive. The culture is aggressive. Hip hop is here. NWA, Tribe Called Quest, Eazy-E, Ice Cube. The music is aggressive. House music went aggressive too with hip house. They coined hip house with Fast Eddie and my big brother from another mother, Tyree Cooper. They coined that, but they were making tracks too. When the 90s came, Dance Mania went up. Dirty sounding tracks became the thing. The rave era came in from Europe. And this is the first time people doing rave parties. I've never seen one of those before. One time in 94, 95, we played a rave party in Wisconsin. And we were hanging out, Paul Johnson and everybody. And this funny white kid comes in, long hair. This is 94, 95. He had R70. Can you please show me how to do it? Oh, R70, we having fun with it. Just making tracks. That was Thomas Bangler. If people don't know Thomas Bangler is one of the other half of Def Punk.
I want to go to 1997. Sure. So this is when you met DJ Rashad.
Oh, Rash, yeah. Through RP Boo.
Yeah. And this was around the time your style started changing. Would you agree with that?
Soul searching? I was getting money. Girl, I was getting money. Man, I'm selling mixtapes. I'm selling CDs and mixtapes, making money like a drug dealer. Being honest, when we do these interviews, I don't want to help beat them. Well, no. We found a way to not sell drugs, and we were able to put those mixes on cassette and CDs, and they were wholesale. Every other day, we were $700, $900, $1,500, every other day. But the thing with Rashad was, no, I went to something else, but Rashad was like mysterious kid. I didn't know he was that young. And I would always hear about him. Always hear him, I'm like, man, this dude's cold. This dude's so cold. This dude's so cold. Now, he did a cassette called No Edits Allowed. RP did one side. Rashad did one side. This is a cassette. And when I heard it, I'm like, oh my God, this dude is cold. Who is he? Then come to find out, there's a track called Lay It Down by DJ Nafis. Come word through the grapevine, Rashad did that production. So I'm like, oh, that sounds like Rashad. And
what was he doing differently or uniquely at the time that people admired?
I think what made those tracks stand out with Rashad was he was a dancer. He danced. I don't dance. So dancers, they have a way of, if they're going to make music, they're going to make something that they can dance to. So that's what it was. And I know he already had caught the DJ bug already. But when I first met him, and it's like, he was kind of chunky then. You Traxman, because he hit my record. I'm like, and then from there, this is the end of 97, going into 98, and we just became cool. Through the years, we would like to see each other because they're the South Side, we're the West Side, we're doing our thing, but we always would see each other in passing. I actually didn't get back up hanging out with Rashad until 03. Bump heads like through those years, but 04. They had that sound, that Footwork sound. going already. Now, to the west side of Chicago, that was kind of foreign.
Yeah. And you've talked about being the first one to raise the BPMs.
Was the first to raise. And if they say different, play us some tracks. Play me something from the 90s that they were going hard with playing the music fast. It was only us, me, Slick Rick the Master, and big shout out to DJ D-Man. D-Man used to play them on 45. I wasn't even that fast. And like I said, there's a button on the 1200s. Lift that plate up, lift the platter up. There's a blue button. Turn the blue button to the right, and it gives you like 10, another increase of speed, not 45, but a better increase of speed. And the reason why we did that is because the tracks we were making were fast. So, of course, we got all these new Dance Mania records or whatever. We got to get on top of the place. So that's how. So now you get and it's the energy of the music makes the people move more, and it definitely made the dancers move. So the dancers are going. So it's just the energy. The speeds are the energy of the music. The more you up it, the more energy it is, but then it start to be 64 BPM. 160, oh, it's too fast. Oh, whoa. Come down to 160.
What was the response from your peers, like when you started raising the BPMs? Well, did people think it was weird?
They thought it was weird because they was coming in our domain. We wasn't going to their domain. They was coming to Club Xavier, to Club Dynasty, and we would play those records at that speed. You can't, like, well, they knew it was fast, but they're looking at the crowd. Again, they're looking at the people, and they don't care, like, whoa! So they follow suit.
Chicago House has gone through so many different iterations, and a lot of producers over the generations have attributed this to touring cycles. First, the OG house producers went global, went to Europe. There was a gap. Ghetto house producers had time to develop. They went global, left, and then Footwork producers made what we know now. I'm curious to know if you kind of stayed in Chicago for the most part, because it seems like you were there for the transition.
All of it. I was there.
Basically throughout
all of it.
Yeah.
Some of the OGs back home, they get it. A lot of them are not embracing. They're not embracing at all when it comes to the new generations. This is why, me, even right now with Chicago, I fight the good battle with the I can't even call them elders. They're olders because they're stuck. They're like, whoa, this is what we did. And so they have a problem with embracing when Ghetto House came along in the 90s, but we're not going to just say Ghetto House. We're just going to say house music of the change period. Because if nothing's not being changed at home, nothing doesn't move. The guys that became worldwide superstars, they went dealing with guys out this way and in Europe, which is cool. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't, you should stay where you are. That's kind of asinine. I wouldn't say that. Maurice Joshua, Steve Hurley, those guys was doing remixes for Michael Jackson, Janet, Mariah Carey, all the big names that came through the pipeline. But at Chicago, they weren't there no more. We were there. But then this is how you get the rise of Dance Mania, Casual Relief, which is the percolator and all that. The percolator is what saved house music in Chicago. It boomed it. That record's still big to this day. But yeah, we came along and filled that gap. Gantz, myself, Deeon, all of us. And we came with it in the 90s because we saved house music in Chicago. We did. They get so angry when we say that. I'm like, if you guys saved house music in Chicago, you were not here. You guys were checking the bag in Europe someplace. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but we picked it up and took it to the next level. We're responsible for Def Punk. We're responsible for Nina Kravitz. We're responsible for Dance Systems. We're responsible for Ace Smokes. We're responsible for Kush. We're responsible for all of these people.
So that's a good segue to talking about what you have coined your music, Footwork Fusion. So your music is, because you lived through all these eras, it is a combination of ghetto house, juke, and footwork.
Fusion footwork is all the above. Jazz. It's got to have funk. Soul. The ghetto house and juke and all that's still the backdrop of what you're going to get, but how are you going to perceive it when you hear it? So this is why, like, I would take Chick Corea Records, Return to Forever, Weather Report. If it's some beautiful chants of Alice Coltrane or somebody, you know, I'm going there. So what I like about it with the Mind of Traxman 1, 2, and 3, because I know 1 and 2, that made everybody start to step their sample game up. And people, and not just that, those albums made the samples become more important. Leroy Hudson, Chill, Earth, Wind & Fire's New World Symphony, you know, Footwork on Air. You know, and they wouldn't even imagine. They know it's an Earth, Wind & Fire record, but something different. That's why I say fusion, Footwork Fusion, because you don't know what you're gonna get. And again, fusion, Footwork Fusion, can everything's not 4 to the floor. Everything can be dun 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 dun, because you know I want people to get it and receive it in a different way from what they are hearing and everything else. And of course, it has to. This album has to be different than the last two or what we've been hearing. And these are pretty cool records, but you know. But it's just, I just want to present something different that's musical.
I want to talk about the footwork of today. It is 20 years on from your 2014 documentary, I'm Trying to Tell You. And there was an interesting discussion in that documentary about the gendered use of juke and footwork that I thought was really cool and interesting. There was a discussion specifically about how juke was used in the club to get the ladies on the dance floor.
Get the girls up. Juke music, and it's still that way.
It's still that way.
It's still that way. Now, shout out to DJ P. DJ is to me, the king of Chicago juke. I said it on camera. Please put that on there. DJ PJ. And PJ comes out of the Dance Mania low end. He's around there with Deeon, but he's that guy that still has that sound, you know. Yeah, put like his records on. I'm not even talking about mine. His records. Oh my God, you got a party. We set it up. Set it up, booty, 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 do, 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 do. And the bass is just, like, man, that's Chicago juke music. But yeah, you got to play that to get the girls going. You know, every female can't hit the works, but they are. They will. Don't get it twisted. She'll go out there, no, pop that ass. But then she'll be like, you know, hold my jacket. She'll get out there and just like, oh! So juke music will automatically morph into footwork. You know, it's just how you perceive it.
So that leads me to my next question, which is, you know, there's been an interesting thing that's happened over the years where footwork dancing today has kind of been able to be separated from the like communities and environments from which it started. Whereas like before, the footwork DJs and the footwork dancers kind of went hand in hand. Not kind of, they did. They were inseparable. Why do you think this shift happened? How do you think this happened?
You know what? I'm going to keep it a buck. I can't stand it back home. I can't stand it because me personally, the footworkers, not all, but half of them are very emotional. And they're bringing their emotions. And it's like, I don't like the fact that the DJs are not, they have a low interest for the DJs and producers. We're not dancers. So everything's relegated around what dancers think, what they say. And it's like, whoa, no. We make the say so for us to sound. You hear it and you react. What gives them the better validation, because half of them are dancers. If we're going to use the quote unquote culture of footwork, because footwork, that name is actually new. Shout out to Planet Mu. Again, shout out to Mike Paradina for them coining that genre, calling it that, because we never, ever called it. Put on some footwork tracks. They didn't say that. They didn't say that in the 2000s. We didn't say that in 2009. We didn't start saying that till after Bangs and Works. That's when it started. But originally, we just called them tracks.
You know, at this point, a lot of the footwork being made is still in Chicago, but it has spread across the U.S. It's in L.A. I'm thinking about juke bounce work. It's in the East Coast. It's even overseas in Japan. Do you think the foundational spirit of footwork has been retained outside of its home city?
I think yes, it's there. And it's definitely here in New York. Definitely here. I'm out of LA every now and then. And shout out to JBW. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Joey. And Son, my man Sonic. Just for some reason he had this hardcore commodity with New York. You know, and like I said, I guess with the exception of Lit City with Jay Cush and him bringing the guys or bringing Rashad and Span early in the early days of the building. So yeah, New York, Japan. Oh my God, I love Japan. I love Asia, man. Man, when I tell you those guys are the keepers of the culture, from gear to nuances, they just dare. I don't know. And Futono's like that's my man. And I told you, me, RP, and Rashad, we call him the king of Japanese footwork. He's the king over there.
So I want to wrap up. My last question is moving on to the footwork of tomorrow. And I thought it was really cool that many of the new footworkers are actually children of footwork pioneers. So DJ Clint's son, DJ MC's son, DJ Rashad's son are all footwork producers now. Have you had the opportunity to spend some time in the studio with them?
Well, me and Corey never made music, and I've watched Corey grow from a little bitty baby, except for him being born. Me and Chad have made tracks. Rashad's son. Chad gets on my nerve. A lot of times, like I might go home if I leave here, and Chad's in my studio making music, which he knows I don't. Hey, Unc, I just had this. You go right ahead, nephew. Gets on my nerve, but I love Chad. And please, y'all get his new album. Lil Rio, I think he moved out of state. Something happened, but me and him I worked on music with him. 16 years old. It's a kid. These guys are so talented, but not just the producers and the DJs, dancers. One day, I went to a party, just stopped there, and we noticed something. Prince J-Ron walks in. That's my man. And he's looking, and we both noticed something. We like, the dancers are younger now. Like, now it's back to 16, 17, 18. We love it. We're loving it. And seeing people here or people in LA or people in Europe, they're trying to footwork. Shout out to my homegirl Pam in Switzerland. She got that shit. She's like one of the funkiest white girls in Europe that kill besides Kelly and them out there in LA. And shout out to the fam. Shout out to the Creation family.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Traxman. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.